All right. We are now live. Hi, I'm Peter, creator and lead designer of Tales from Elsewhere. If you're on this video, you probably know that. Today, I have a guest interview. This is in our designer interview series. I have on Ash from Cross Paths Press. He has made several really popular and well done RPGs over the last several years, and he is currently running a crowdfunding campaign for Legends of Akeroth. And we're going to talk today, though, about the design behind his game as it is inspired by JRPGs. So that's the main subject today. So, Ash, why don't you tell us a little about yourself, and we'll hop right in.
Hello. Amazing intro from Peter there. But I'm Ash. I run Crosspaths Press. I am the lead creative director. I'm the founder. Just all the titles just keep backing up the business card. But yeah, I am creating a game using a JRPG style of gameplay. So really excited to be here. Really excited to talk to Peter and talk to you guys as well. Exciting time. Thank you for having me
Awesome.
on.
Yeah. So there's a lot. Just see. Oh, seeing some people saying hello. Hello, people. We see Milestone Play, Wolves of the Night, Twice Dead, Whispering Wisp, Easy Quests. Hello, everybody. So as always with these interviews, we're going to be talking, but we will try to respond to questions in chat. So if you do have anything for Ash or me that you'd like to ask, do ask away. Twice two bearded men talking about games. My type of afternoon. Yes.
I mean, that is
I,
just how it's meant to be, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Genetics sometimes are nice. So,
Yeah.
what we're going to talk about is JRPGs. Now, Ash and I don't know, we come from a similar era of video games, I'm going to assume. Somewhat similar era, where the SNES days of video games into like the PS1 days, these were, a lot of people consider these like the golden age of JRPGs, right? Especially early Final Fantasies and going into the wonderful graphics of Final Fantasy VII with its hoof-like hands. But these games are wildly impactful in the video game market, and there are some tabletop role-playing games that are inspired by JRPGs, but not a lot of them, I think, attempt to replicate the gameplay of a JRPG. Like they take the aesthetic rather than the gameplay. And so I wanted to start off, Ash, just asking you about your aesthetic inspiration for this game and then the mechanical inspiration for the game specifically.
Yeah. So it's interesting because JRPGs were inspired by the CRPGs of long ago. Like games like Wizardry and Ultima were one of the main like first ones. Um, and those CRPGs were actually inspired by D&D. So it's sort of a full circle moment for me at least, where TTRPGs are coming back into, for me at least, the design aspects from JRPGs and bringing them into this.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Design inspiration wise, I grew up with games like Final Fantasy, your Fire Emblem, and all that. And my first sort of memory of gaming was we walked into this charity shop, which I think for you guys we'll call it thrift stores.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing a Game Boy, a yellow Game Boy with Pokemon Yellow on the side. And I said to my mum, "Oh, can I get it?" Because we didn't have a games console at that time, and it was the first time I'd seen something like that. It was a Game Boy Color. I remember it was a Pikachu edition, but it was all scratched up. And I said to her, "Can I have it?" She said, "Oh yeah, whatever," just to shut me up. She said, "Sure." She bought that for me, and I remember sitting there for hours on the bus, at home, whenever I could, playing Pokemon Yellow, start to finish, and I was hooked with that style of gameplay. And so I looked into, like, talked to friends and everything, and they
Yeah.
were like, "Oh, there's other games." And then I discovered that there was Pokemon Red and Blue, and I was like, "Oh my god, there are more Pokemon games!" And explored that. And then the Game Boy Advance came out.
Mm.
Got that. We had a PS2 because we had a person living in the upstairs room, and he had a PlayStation, and he showed me Final Fantasy VII for the first time, and that was like mind
Nice.
blowing, going from a Game Boy to that. And then I started looking into titles when the internet started happening. I started talking to other people, and I went to shops as well, and they had Nintendo Power. I remember one of the shops I went to had copies of Nintendo Power you could look at, and they talked about the SNES, and then they had games like Dragon Quest on there, or Dragon Warrior
Yeah.
as it was known back then. And I looked into those. I got into emulation because that was the thing. Played these games, and
Mm-hmm.
essentially, although my era was not the SNES, I feel a lot of love towards it because there's a lot of design
Yeah.
aspects and story that you get from those games that weirdly enough I find are missing nowadays. I don't have a lot of time on my hands to sit down and play games anymore, with children and with work. It never happens. As much as I
Yeah.
would love to, it just doesn't. So these older titles where they were designed around the idea of being able to pick them up, play them, and then you could save a game, continue on, and it didn't feel like you were missing anything. That's where I really lived. And Fire Emblem was a big influence for this game particularly. I think it was the one that I looked at and went, I want to design a game around this because it just had really nice tactical combat.
Yeah.
People who play Final Fire Emblem will recognize a lot of the influences, but I take influence from every JRPG. I remember sitting down when I started designing Legends. I sat down and wrote a list of games I liked playing video game wise.
Mm-hmm.
I think my in the book I've got my touchstones and it goes through all of them.
Yeah. There's a
And
lot
so
of touchstones, I think.
yeah, there's a lot because
Yeah.
it deserves to have a lot. There are some
Absolutely.
games in there that I don't even list because I think that they're essentially taking inspiration from other games. So it felt like, okay, I'm looking at this game, but I can see the influences it's got from these games. So
Mm-hmm.
the Tales of series is a big one. They've got a really good history in terms of
And that's
their
like Tales of Symphonia.
storytelling.
Is that the one? Like
Yeah,
that line?
exactly.
Okay, I'm
Stuff
trying
like
to.
that.
I'm getting old, and so I get these names all mixed up.
And then you got like Skies of Arcadia and all these
Oh
other games. Like
yeah.
the actual touchstones in the final book are gonna be way longer because
Yeah.
between my current design of the pre-alpha and then my final design of the game, I have played so many more JRPGs between
Mm-hmm.
that. I got myself one of those little emulation
Yeah.
systems and then just loaded it up with all the JRPGs I could. And then whenever I get a chance on the way to dropping my son off or
Yeah.
coming home, and just when I get 10 minutes to myself, I'll just sit down and play what I can to learn more about it, but
That
also
media
just enjoy the
immersion.
journey.
Yeah. Like you got to
Yeah,
immerse.
exactly.
My,
Yeah.
my my poor partner has grown a little sick of westerns over the last few years because of all my immersion in westerns. Not her favorite genre. Bless her heart. I've got a number of questions here. Okay, let's see. Oh, somebody asks about the swoosh kin you added to the game, and just to like, was that close to your heart? Was that
Was it close to my heart? No,
yeah,
it was originally called it was a swan slash goose folk, and
yeah,
it was called the Signian, right?
okay, yeah,
Because it comes from the Latin word for a goose slash swan, that sort of family. And I thought, oh my God, this is genius. I'm so I'm so proud of that name because I was like, it's built from something true inside our real world. I'm gonna put it
yeah,
in. I'm gonna make some stuff for it. Then I did the live stream and I made the massive mistake of showing them the Signian, and they went, "Oh my God, we should call that the swoosh." And I was just bombarded by messages just saying, "Oh my God, it's the swoosh" in the chat. And I thought, I was sitting there and I remember thinking this. I thought,
yeah,
why should I need to be precious about this name? I think that the name means nothing to the character itself. It's just fun.
yeah, yeah,
And I thought my community are absolutely lovely, and they showed up, they supported the game, they continue to allow me to do this. I will give them the swoosh. And so right there during the stream, I renamed it to the swoosh
That's
officially.
great. What a great
And they
community
just
moment. Yeah,
they lost their minds. It was ridiculous. To a point where in our Discord, people have renamed themselves Swoosh this, Swoosh that,
that's
and I'm
great.
called King Swoosh in it.
Yeah.
Because it's just fun for us as a community. It's like it's a meme, but it
Yeah.
doesn't feel like a what's it called? Like a meme that doesn't mean anything. We're
No,
gonna
yeah, it's
signify that we're gonna remember this campaign
yeah,
by
it's
that.
it's an
You know,
inside joke that you and your community now have, and honestly, those are great binding moments, right? Where you all share in on this funny moment together, right? And that's a good
Mhm.
thing. Like I did a live stream a while ago where I was eating oatmeal because I get real hungry and I ate some oatmeal, and now people are asking me like where's the oatmeal all the time. Right? Like the camera I
Yeah,
accidentally left on the oatmeal bowl, and little things like that are actually great. It means the community's joking along with you. I love that. And now I've got up I
exactly.
realized I didn't directly plug it at the start, but just so everybody knows, so this is on BackerKit right now. There is a link in the description. I put it in the chat as well. So Ash has produced several games before, right? This is not his first rodeo. Definitely check out his BackerKit page. It's well past its original funding goal, and Ash delivers real games, right? you make games. You do this for a living. You have a team. His games are like, this game is also basically complete
Well,
at
I
this
guess you
point,
call me a
right?
studio now, wouldn't you?
Yeah, you're kind of a
At this
studio,
point.
right? Yeah.
Yeah,
And
and
this
I'm a
game.
studio,
Oh, by the way, I
which is
love
quite
the
nice.
was it the Akira Toriyama style art? By the way, is lovely.
Oh, that was definitely a I remember because we designed this game way like I started designing it way back in 2023, I think, after
Mm-hmm.
Bramble Trek, after Covens, I sat down and went, what do I want to make next? And that's when I sat down and wrote the list of JRPGs because I was playing Fire Emblem on the bus and I went,
Yeah,
I want to make
yeah,
a game like this. And I immediately reached out to artists that I could find that had the similar style but weren't Dragon Ball Z. Like I didn't want Dragon Ball Z. I wanted that Akira Toriyama style, but with the softness of a JRPG.
yeah,
And
yeah.
so I
It's
found
a
one.
softer
And
aesthetic. I like it.
there are images and videos out there of me at UKGE back then, and you can see like Legends of Akeroth there in early
Mm.
stages of its development in pictures, which was quite fun to see because people look at my games and go, "Oh, well, when did you start writing?" And I go, "Oh, well, I write several things in parallel because I like the mental split
Yeah.
of jumping from one thing, going to another, working on it, learning from that, and going." I don't know if you've ever had that moment, but you're working on something else and you go, "Oh, that's a good idea for this.
Yeah.
So I'm going to bring it to that instead."
You
Yeah,
know,
and then you jump
quick,
back to it and
write
keep
it down.
working.
Yeah, don't forget it.
Yeah, exactly,
Yeah,
exactly.
I get you. I just have up your backer kit because it's got tons of gorgeous art on it. So we've got a lot of questions. Let's go to the next one. This is great. People are curious. So, what does the JRPG combat experience mean to you in tabletop form? Like, that's kind of the heart of one of the questions. You're like, what elements of JRPG combat were you hoping to replicate? I think that's a great like core question here.
So JRPG means several things to me. Like, obviously, at its face, it means Japanese role-playing game.
Yeah.
But the actual term has become a lot more clouded nowadays. The question comes up like, is Zelda Breath of the Wild a JRPG? On its face, no, it is a hack and slash, right? Technically, it is an exploration action adventure game. It is not a traditional JRPG as games were before. The same question can be said for Final Fantasy. Final Fantasy is no longer the classic JRPG that it was.
Right.
It does not have turn-based combat anymore. It doesn't have the things that made it Final Fantasy and the JRPG. So the line of what is a JRPG is completely gone. I think that it is just it's a feeling, but it's also
Right.
certain things that you hit, such as the storyline being fairly epic. Most of these have a big bad that is trying to do this huge thing and is trying to, and you have characters who are overcoming that. That to me
Yeah.
is the cycle of a JRPG story. So when I was designing the game, JRPG combat was not my first instinct. It was, can I create a system that allows for these larger than life stories in a world that is larger than life? And I'm very high fantasy. I try and stay within that because it's where I feel most comfortable, but it's not somewhere that I wouldn't, mind exploring outside of. But for me, that's what JRPG was. It's the same with like Persona, for example, is another really, really good JRPG. And yeah, it's got those types of stories. But coming to combat, when I sat down and started designing it, it was Fire Emblem was the main inspiration. I wanted,
I can
hey,
see it. Yeah.
you've got a grid, you can move your units and do certain things. And you've got a certain list of actions, and then you have the triangle that you can use as well, the weapon triangle. These inspirations tie together because I've not seen any TTRPG try and do the weapon triangle before. And I thought that's an interesting design space. Why not? Is it too difficult? If it is, then that's fine. I can try it. If it doesn't work, I just remove it and move on. But I thought there is something there that isn't being utilized, and I want to understand why. And it was more curiosity than anything else. It was not, I must have, because there are certain mechanics in games that you go, I must have this. Without it, the identity of the game is lost. And, I think that Legends has a lot of things that are obviously from different aspects of JRPGs and brought together in a nice package, but it didn't feel like the weapon triangle was something that without it everything falls apart. Adding it in made the game more interesting for me
Yeah,
personally.
I like your
From both a
implementation of
solo,
that. Yeah.
it was fun. I definitely will be going back to change it, and that's the thing. You'll probably look at the book as it is now
Yeah.
and go, "Oh, that's a finished product." It's not. I'm nowhere near done. I have still got so much development ahead of me because I realize how much still needs to be done with it.
It
And
looks very
playing with
playable
the
to me, but
playtesters,
yeah.
oh, it's 100%
Yeah,
playable.
yeah.
You could have an entire campaign using the system as it is right now, and it's content complete.
Right,
That's
right,
what I would
right,
say.
right.
But it's not gone gold, if that makes sense. A video game term to be brought
Yep.
in there.
I think everybody will get that.
Yeah, it's not something that I would turn around and say is okay. I like if I printed it right now, I'd be happy, but I wouldn't be satisfied.
Right.
There's a difference between that. If I wanted to just push out a game with no real care, then yeah, I would do as it is right now. But right now, the game is playable. Right now, you can run a campaign. We have playtesters who are playing it. We have people on stream who are playing it. The game is like 300 and something pages as it is right now.
Yeah.
And that's a pre-alpha. I will be going back to refine this book from start all the way to finish
Nice.
until it goes to print. Because there is no point in me sitting there and saying this game is done. Because if it is, why have I gone to crowdfunding?
Right.
I have crowdfunded the idea. I've just put in the extra work beforehand because I'm willing to do that in order to prove that the product deserves to be out there. And I'm of the mindset of creating the thing is my goal. Like I'm willing to spend my own money to make the thing happen if it doesn't succeed in the way that I expect, because I just want to leave the game out there and let people explore it and have fun with it. That's my goal. And yeah, it's been an interesting journey on that.
Can I show the
But in
weapon
terms
triangle from the book on stream?
Yeah.
Okay, I just
Go
want
ahead.
to.
Yeah.
So, because people were specifically asking, I'll try to zoom in, make it a little bit more clear here on the stream. But yeah, there is a weapon triangle and then a bow versus arcana structure. So Fire Emblem players, this should look like you'll recognize this ideology. But this is a good example of taking, not exactly replicating, right? You're not Fire Emblem, but learning what would be translatable from Fire Emblem.
This is not a Fire Emblem RPG.
Exactly.
Like, I think that is a very clear distinction. It takes elements from the Fire Emblem game, but it also, there are things that don't work in Fire Emblem that cannot be translated very well. And it just doesn't function. And so the weapon triangle flat out doesn't work 100%. It can't. Just because you've also got to remember, a video game does all the maths for you, which a player at a table just cannot do at the same speed.
Designers
there was a lot of changes I had to make. Yeah, exactly. And I think another thing that people come up with, and I think I can see it in the comments as well, is someone saying that the GM can swap out PCs that they want to disfavor and favor. You can't design around a bad GM. You can't design around a mean GM. If you try to do that, your game is not going to succeed in the design goals you have. Right. If you try and think, oh, this is going to be exploited, and start designing around the exploits, you're starting to really put yourself in a box. This is an ethos that my community know is I don't design around the negative things that can come out of the gameplay. Because if you have a table, if you have a GM who is going to go out of their way to disfavor you in combat by using the rules against you, that's not a table you should be at. You should get up and leave. And the rules do not make a bad GM. A GM makes a bad GM. And if they're doing that out of their own choices, then that's not a table you should be at. And that's
you can't really control that.
I design a game exactly. I just design a game that I want to make and I'd want to play, and I literally just pray that people want to play it with me. That's it. That's my goals. You want my high level design goal? That's it. I make a game that I find fun, and I hope other people will too.
Yeah, there was another just because I found it really nice. So you have your grid-based combat, very much like more of like, oh, I'm moving too fast in my display here because of my mouse scrolling. But you can also do zone combat, which is rather than measuring squares, which is more like an advanced war or a tactics game like Final Fantasy Tactics.
Yeah, Advanced Wars is another inspiration. Yeah. So you have two schools of thought for JRPG combat. You have the tactical grid, classic Fire Emblem, Final Fantasy Tactics, and Advance Wars, but then you've got the flat zone system, which works similar to
Yeah.
classic Final Fantasy, to Persona, to these games where it's essentially players versus the enemies.
Yeah,
and
you
back
line
and
them
forth.
up.
Even Pokemon is a similar one, but obviously there are certain rules that don't function in there. Like you don't move in Final Fantasy classic combat. You don't move in Pokemon. Speed just determines who goes first. But then there's no true initiative system, so it sort of goes out of whack a bit. So designing a system that made sense for that, that's where I looked at games like Sword World, because they have a very cool system that brings in these different elements so your style of play can be implemented quite well. And it was really fun to explore that side of it.
Yeah, I like that you've
there are things like
included
probably
that idea
yeah
that there's a couple different approaches to how you could play this, and so you've included variant rules where relevant, right? I think that's smart.
yeah
Let's pop back down into... Oh, somebody was asking what a campaign looks like with Legends of Akeroth. So maybe not necessarily just narratively, but mechanically, like what's the power progression look like in this game? I mean, somebody's asking if there's a giant Buster Sword as well.
well
Uh,
since you've read it, that there's no level cap.
yeah.
So players can get to level 999 and above, because I love the games that let me do that. Let me break the power fantasy of whatever broken build I wanted to make, because that is what was fun for me in a JRPG.
Oh, yeah.
The idea of getting and hitting for 999 damage, and the idea of coming back to an early section of the game, and you're playing Pokemon, you've got your legendary, it's level 100, you come back, Joey the trainer has got his Rattata, you destroy that thing.
Take that,
That's
Joey.
Fun.
Yeah.
Exactly, because the world doesn't. I personally don't like leveled scaling in worlds, because I think that it feels a bit unrealistic to me. But I understand why people do it. I get
you.
But for me, it was not something that the world has, because at the end of the day, I build all my games inside the exact same world. Akeroth. I build all of them because I enjoy telling that story through different lenses.
Right.
You've got the fantasy lens with Draconim, you've got the lens through a mouse through Bramble Trek, you've got the JRPG lens here. And that to me was interesting about, I've always said the world does not care about your level. The world is going to beat you to a pulp regardless of how experienced you are. Let's see what that looks like when you can get to level 999. And that's what I wanted to achieve here. And so a campaign can go from whatever levels you want. The base game allows for leveling with traditional rules from level 1 to 10. Right. Beyond that, there are simple increases per level rather than a table that tells you what you get. It allows you to go beyond and above, because that is what a JRPG to me is. It's breaking your limits and going above that to do cool stuff.
Yeah, so it blew my mind
really
in, I think it was Final Fantasy X, where there was an item or something where you could go above 99999 damage in 10, and teenage me was like, what? My mind is blown.
It's ridiculous. Yeah.
What a great high to chase.
Yeah, and that's the thing, you don't have to do that. If your campaign wants to cap out at 10, absolutely it can. If you are playing solo, which again you are able to do in this game, you can go to 999 at your own pace. And that is what I think the beauty of this thing is, because you don't have to think about, all right, like D&D is a really good example of this. You've got level 20, and because you're in a campaign, you have to ask at the beginning, what level is this campaign going to go to, and think about that thing.
Yeah.
I have never played in a level 20 D&D game. It's not happened. I'm still waiting for that.
Yeah.
I've never even seen how it feels to play a D&D level 20 character.
It doesn't
I've capped out around it. Well, that's a different conversation. We could probably stay hours talking about that, but it doesn't fill me with joy when you see on a character sheet or a thing, these are level 10 or level 20 features, and you go, all right, I'm really excited to build my character all the way up. Because as much as people say don't do it, you fantasize about what your level 20 character is going to look like. You build it and say, oh, I'm going to do this cool stuff, I'm going to do that cool stuff, but then you never do, and then you feel terrible about that, which is why I cap out at 10, because I like it's really nice for a campaign, because you start at level 1 and you grow, and then you cap out at 10. But then if you think, actually we could be going longer with this campaign because your GM decides to do a second arc or a third arc.
Yep.
Keep going, keep it going. You know, you can continue leveling up, and you just scale up the monsters alongside that. And there are rules to allow you to do that, so
Right.
it is quite nice.
Yeah, that is
Yeah.
cool. Well, and like you said, that's an aspect that is very iconic to JRPGs.
Hmm.
That near infinite scaling, and so it makes sense to try to include that, or put that into your design goals. And now, does the game? I haven't statted it out myself, like the progression. I imagine you could have characters of pretty different post level 10 levels, and you'd
Oh yeah.
probably be able to play together because the math isn't somebody who's like like 12 verse 14 could still very much play together.
It's the way that I'd say it is it's about consistency rather
Mm-hmm.
than big numbers.
Right.
Like yes, you can roll X amount of dice and do loads of damage and etc. But it's more about being consistent in what you can do post level 10 and
Right.
higher levels, because you roll the dice pool system. You're not adding modifiers to the roll.
Hmm.
So if you actually look at the math for a dice pool system, it's the classic bell curve
Yeah.
for results.
Yeah, and you're
And
skewing
so
it.
actually,
Yeah.
the more dice you roll, the likelihood of succeeding on something actually flattens out and becomes a bit more consistent at higher numbers. So the math works out quite nicely as well.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah,
Like you keep bounds that are preventing unfun gameplay experiences, right? Basically, right? Because
yeah,
you're working
yeah.
within a bound. Oh,
Because of the
sorry, Frank has asked again. So Frank from What Is Tabletop is in here, and he's like asking again: Is there a Buster Sword? Is there a big
yes,
two-handed
there
sword?
is there is a Buster Sword. Yeah,
There you go, Frank. You
legal
can
reasons, it's not called the Buster Sword. It's
absolutely.
called the Sword that busts. You know,
Yeah, yeah. You can now go
just
back to
for
Project
legal
Frank. You
changes.
can
Um,
your one criteria has
but
been met.
the basic idea of leveling for this one is that
Hmm.
because it has both the dice pool system and also the idea that you can have success thresholds. So you got 0, 1 to 3, 4 plus.
Yeah.
A character who gets to level whatever is just more consistent in those successes. They
Right.
are able to do more things, but it doesn't necessarily mean they're always going to succeed. I remember playing in my Draconim game, because it uses a very similar dice pool
Hmm.
system.
Hmm.
We were at level 10 and we rolled all our dice, and we thought, oh, we're all going to get successes, but there were failures, there were low numbers on the successes. It happens
Yeah. Yeah.
because there is something about, there is a very, very nice satisfaction in rolling a ton of dice, but there
Yeah.
is also the other side of it where the numbers of the math mean that you don't always succeed all the
Right.
time. And I think the fact that you don't after a certain like curve is quite nice to me. I like that. The
Yeah.
randomness is still there, which is quite good.
Yeah.
Because that's what I didn't like about D20 systems. It's the modifier. When you have plus 13 in your sneak, unless you're rolling in that one, you're succeeding everything. Like it's just the way it is.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't make sense to me. You should be. Like I think you should be. If you have a plus 13 in your sleight of hand where you're unlocking a lockpick and you struggled at level 1, you should be picking that lock every single time, level 10 post. It should just happen. There are other limitations that you can do, which is
Yeah.
limit the number of lockpicks that they have, make it harder to do these things through, oh, if you pick this lock, they'll hear you. Make alternative suggestions for how the game is going to affect you, not just pass or fail. There are other things that you can do with that.
Right,
You know.
exactly. There's all
So
sorts
yeah,
of risk and reward decisions you can still include, like you said, with limitations on lockpicks, with time. Like maybe now, yeah, that rogue always
clocks.
picks.
The greatest
Yeah,
thing that ever came to tabletop,
yeah,
clocks.
clocks.
They are
Exactly.
so useful. I love using clocks in my game. Like I've got a weapon proficiency system that
Hmm.
allows you to learn how to use a weapon you're not proficient with by starting a clock. During a downtime, you tick up in the clock, and
Yep.
at a certain point, you unlock proficiency with that weapon. And if you continue to go up in the clock, you master the weapon
Yeah.
and gain perks to use with that weapon, which is such a cool way to explore mastering a weapon than just going,
Hmm.
oh, okay, I'm going to make some rolls and then suddenly I'm mastering this thing. No, I want you to be able to track that and know how far you are in learning this weapon. So then you have to choose during this downtime, do I go shopping? Do I spend my time learning this weapon to be better at it?
Yeah.
These choices are what makes player characters more interesting and more fun, I think. And it's interesting to lean into that
Yeah,
with
and
this as
you're
well.
creating gameplay moments that can be narrative moments as well during downtime, right? Then you can describe how you're training, right? But there is a
Exactly.
there's a concrete benefit you're getting for these different activities. Oh, and I saw somebody kind of asking. They were asking about, will you accept late pledges? And generally, you accept late pledges
Yeah,
for your
there will be
project.
late
So
pledges and pre-orders open after the campaign.
yeah, and like you can continue
Yeah,
to sell your products
yeah.
off your
I
website.
there
And
are certain things that won't be available. You know, they're backy exclusive stuff that
oh
we
yeah,
we
of
don't we
course.
do for the campaign. But yeah, the stuff you need will be there.
Yeah,
Like
so
it's not going to be just
sometimes
cut
in
off.
the winter was asking about that. So yeah, like Ash's games don't like disappear after the initial crowdfunding window, right? He's not. You will be able to get this game later if money is tight right now, from late pledges or just from later sales. But of course, there's always the enticing backer only doodads that it's part of the deal, right? Part of the deal. Let me just make sure I'm not
Exactly.
missing any of previous questions here. Oh, so Milestone Play was asking how frequently do the players tend to advance, like level wise? What's like the cadence roughly in the game?
I think that definitely comes down to your herald, as I call them, instead of
Yeah.
GM. I would recommend every like I like to do arcs. I'm one of them who enjoy when big narrative moments. It's milestone based primarily.
Yeah.
So, but this game does have XP, but I prefer a milestone play. You know, so because of the XP system, it just depends on how much stuff shenanigans you get into, really. So there's not really a set amount of sessions that you should have before,
Mm.
but I would say 3 to 4, 5 to 6, maybe give or take, you level up because that's a significant story experience.
Yeah.
But if you're going with XP, it would just depend on how much XP you gain.
Right.
You know,
Right.
it's
XP is
a
also
bit
very
cleaner. But I think where
JRPG, right?
that's the thing. I felt like it needed to be in there. I wanted people to be able to just
Yeah.
go, I'm getting this much XP. If they want to go and grind the local like sheep or
Yeah, the
pigs or whatever,
oozes
do
or
that.
something.
It's fine,
Yeah.
yeah. Like solo play allows for that, and
Right.
you get XP for many things. You get XP for talking to NPCs. You get XP for visiting locations. You get XP for finding items. You get XP for literally doing anything because in a JRPG, that's what happens.
Yeah.
You start gaining XP for random things, and then you suddenly do more things because it entices you. You now have a reward to go talk to that old woman in the corner that isn't narrative focused. It gets you XP. Yeah, you get something with a story, but let's be honest, you're all trying to get that XP
Yeah.
to unlock
Yeah.
whatever cool thing you want to do next. So entice players to go do more stuff, and that's why I did it.
That makes sense.
Exploration in the world, it allows you to say to a player, "What do you want to do next?" And they go, "I want to go to this location." They know they're going to get XP from it. They know it's going to advance the story, so it's a twofold decision for them. They get two
Right.
things out of that. The XP is great for everyone, and the story moves the narrative forward for the herald. It's a nice experience for people, and obviously you got random encounters, so yeah, you get XP all the time. I'd say you don't level up really quickly because it's intentionally not like that. But I like the idea of leveling up as you do things, like just through gameplay.
Well, yeah,
It's
and
fun.
I've said this before that a game is about what it rewards you for doing, right? How it dangles your rewards. Old school D&D.
It's the carrot, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the carrot. You level up by getting gold. You get gold by going in the dungeon. This game is about going into dungeons and getting gold, right? And
Yeah,
yeah, and so if the primary reward structure of your game, for example, if the only way to advance is by killing things, your game is about killing things, right? But
yeah,
if you have a myriad of ways to advance, like helping the little old lady shopkeeper or something, right? If that gives you XP, if exploring gives you XP, the game can be about any of these things in the end.
exactly, exactly. And I think it is an interesting thing because there are games that are particularly about loot, right? There are
Yeah.
games that the whole thing is going into a dungeon and finding, like I think it was Wilder Feast or Wilder Feast or whatever it is, but
Mm-hmm.
that whole game's thing is killing things and eating them and gaining power from those things. That is what the game is about, and I think that's great. I think it's really interesting to find out what your game is about. And JRPGs are about a multitude of things. I wanted to reflect that. I want this game to be able to allow people to play, weirdly enough, because of all the stretch goals that are unlocked, it lets you play your classic Seeds of Mana style Dragon Quest adventure.
Right.
It also allows you to play Animal Crossing because it's got the farming rules now,
Yeah.
and they give you XP too.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of options for how people want to play, and I think that's what I wanted to achieve. Like, yes, on the surface, it is a big game and it's very ambitious in what it attempts to do, but I think every type of JRPG fan will find something in here to love, and that's what excites me. You know,
Oh yeah, I see the passion in its creation very obviously, right? You can tell when a game has been made cynically, I think, versus one where they clearly love. This applies to film a lot as well. When somebody's making something cynically versus actually passionate for the subject matter, and clearly, like, you like this kind of stuff, right?
I love it.
Yeah, yeah, and that's what I like about the indie space in particular. Just to rant for a moment about why I think the indie space is so cool, is that people are willing to take risks or just to make something they love without being as big as a Hasbro or something, right? These enormous corporations which have to follow particular market trends. They're beholden to stakes to shareholders. But in the indie space, like, somebody could be like, I love this type of media, so I'm going to make a game about it. And then we get to play that game.
That's, I think, the part that I find really interesting about indie, and it's something that I'm slowly realizing as well. The bigger you get, the harder it is to take risks.
Yeah.
Right. There will be a point in my career where it will be a huge risk for me to make a game like this, like financially and time and all that. It is just, on paper, it would not be worth it.
Yeah.
I don't care. I'll make whatever I want. If people don't
Yeah.
like it, they don't like it.
Yeah.
You know, that's just the way I am. I'm a very reactive person because I've got ADHD, so I like jumping from different thing to different thing, which is why my game style went from Bramble Trek to Comes of Midnight to Ashes to Winnie the Pooh.
Yeah, yeah, Souls-like, and then back up again.
Makes no sense, right? It does not. But I found that by being passionate about the stuff I enjoyed, just making what I love, people either were on board with it or they weren't. That's why my audience is so broad. And there are people in my Discord who joined who I think before my business would not have been friends because they wouldn't have ever had a crossover between their likes and dislikes. So obviously a Dark Souls person is on my Discord who loves Dark Souls and all that stuff.
Yeah, and they're there for Ashes.
Who loves Bramble Trek.
Yeah.
They were never going to meet because of the way that it is, but they cross over in the Discord and suddenly they're friends because they have a passion for this now as a concept. And that to me makes me really happy to see. And that's why I do what I do. Cool. Which is why I've got games in the future that are going to explore like fun, you know, low stakes stuff as well. Like, you know, I mean, it goes without saying, but Bramble Trek 3 is coming at some point. It's going to happen. You know, there's going to be sequels to the other games as well, because at the end of the day, I have so many ideas. They can't be held in. I want to make more cool stuff.
Preach, brother.
My goal is just to make what I want. You know, I think it's why I don't have shareholders. It's why I did this on my own, because I knew that if I had someone else to answer to, they started having influence on my creative ability, I wouldn't be happy. And I wouldn't be able to tell the stories I wanted to tell. And it's part of what makes me, like, I'm not giving Wizards any credit here or anything like that, but it's part of what makes me understand why they're in the rut that they are.
Yeah.
They can't escape it. The moment they try and do something different, it's a huge risk for them. And the shareholders have put a risk and all that. And it's very similar to the whole Critical Role choosing D&D over Daggerheart. The risk that they had on that was massive. If it didn't work out, they lost their audience, and it's hard to claw them back.
Yeah, and they have a lot of employees, right? They're a big business at this point.
The risk is too high. And, you know, maybe I get to a point where the risk would be, you know, high, and maybe doing another Bramble Trek thing would be the thing. And obviously, there were easy choices for me as well. I could do 5e and, you know, use the stuff I've already got and do that. And there wouldn't be anything wrong with that. And I don't disparage anyone who works in 5e because, you know, it is where the money is at the end of the day. But I think that as long as you're having fun, it doesn't matter what system you're writing for. You're doing you're doing what you want, as long as you're doing it for yourself,
100%,
and not for profit and all these other things.
Well, I know we're talking about for those who have been asking some business related questions, I do plan on having Ash back for a deep dive into TTRPG business, like indie business. So we'll touch on that a little bit here. I don't want to spend too much time on it because I feel like we could spend a full hour.
No,
on
absolutely.
that.
I mean, we could yap for hours on it.
Oh
We
yeah,
absolutely could.
yeah. But when people say the only money is in 5e, I actually like to use Cross Paths here as an example of like, no, you don't have to, right? Bramble Trek 2 is like Winnie the Pooh, like it's so not D&D, right? And it made over 300,000 pounds. Double checking my currency here. You know, you can. The other game I always point out is Thirsty Sword Lesbians, right? This game is the most
Yeah.
niche of games. Like these games can exist, and what matters a lot more is your like passion for creating it and sharing that with people than it does ticking corporate boxes. You can do that. Not to disparage. Again, if you're making 5e compatible content or just D&D compatible content, it's fine. Or any content for, at this point, Morkborg or Shadowdark compatible are also huge spaces where you have built-in markets. But you can create your own community over time as well, like you have.
You make your own demand. You make your own market.
Yeah.
You know, like, was there a demand for a Winnie the Pooh RPG? Did anyone ask for it? Absolutely not. I didn't care. I just went, literally, I remember sitting there
It's open
and
now.
talking about it.
Yeah.
Well, exactly. And there was someone in the industry, in the space, who mentioned it to me as well and said, oh, there's space for a Winnie the Pooh RPG. But my son had a real big love for Winnie the Pooh when he was little, and I had a Bramble Trek plush for him as well. I gave it to him, and I saw them together, and I thought, oh, that's cute. That could be interesting. There's something there. Then I sat down and I started actually writing it, and I went, I could have so much fun here and not touch on the huge. I respect the lore that was created by the original author while putting my own spin on it, because it's in public domain now. So technically I can do whatever I want with it. You know, you saw the horror stuff. I didn't want to go down that route. I thought, everyone goes, this thing is public domain, let's make it horror.
Yeah, make it horror.
Went, no, he's adorable. He's so cute. Let's keep him cute. Then I started designing that, and then got artists on board and hired all of them who worked on it.
It's awesome.
Just went, right, let's make this happen. We did it. It was the cutest thing on the planet, and I was very happy. You know, it was. You can create your own demand, and it takes time, and it will take so much energy to do so. But the moment you do, the people that you are surrounded with spread so much love for your content, and they're there for you, that you don't need to worry about touching, like, a comparison to Thief's Joy, as many people say. And it is so hard to not compare yourself to another project. You know, there are other projects out there that are doing absolute bits on the internet at the minute, 5e related or not. And I was in a point before where I was comparing myself to other games and going this, that, and the other. But what I realized is people are there for you. They buy games because they trust you, because they like what you are putting out there. If you start comparing yourself to other media, most likely, maybe 5% or less people in that media that you're trying to compare yourself to know who you are. They haven't made a decision. They don't know. And if you've, like, the crossover is going to be so minimal. This space is so huge that if you actually think about it, making 300,000 or whatever is small chips in this space. In the actual grand scheme, looking at what Paizo, looking at what D&D make on a monthly basis, it's nothing. So that's why I don't compare myself to 5e anymore. It doesn't really matter. If I enjoy what I'm doing,
you're not competing with
an audience
them, really.
there for it.
No, 100%.
They don't know who I am. They don't care. I don't think Mr. Wizards is waking up in the morning and going, you know who I need to challenge today? Mr. Crossbar. They don't care.
That guy over there. I get you. So
the moment you stop caring about what others think, that is when you start to fulfill yourself as a creator, and I think, and also avoid r/RPG. That's the other thing as well.
Somebody from your community was saying you should talk about shrines and dungeons really fast earlier. I just want to make sure that is a cool thing. You want to just really quick, maybe
it's a section in the book, so I don't know if we could open up the book and have a look.
Let me just check out what's on the stream.
Oh, actually, it is bookmarked.
So let's see.
It's near the end.
maybe I went too far. I see sites.
Yep, sites. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah. You can start. You can go there.
okay, go to
That starts
sites.
you off.
Okay, sites. Here we go. I love, by the way, just for those, seeing what I have on my screen, there's a lot of pixel art in the book, and it's really cool.
I built the scenes of pixel art myself using assets I got on like Itch and
Oh,
whatnot
that's
and
awesome.
Game Maker. So I learned how to create games
Oh, here
to
we go. Yeah,
create
the
the scenes
shrine
and all that. And it was
builder.
quite fun.
Yeah. This layout
Yeah,
builder
the
is
Shrine Builder
super
was a lot
cool.
of
Okay, I
fun.
remember reading this the other day, and I was like, oh, that's fun. So I've got it up on the screen if you want to give us the pitch on that.
Yeah, so shrines are, classic, Zelda shrines are locations you go that are essentially religious keystones or areas of power that were left behind by the giants. And so the idea is that you would roll dice to build a shrine, and you have layouts. So you roll 5d6 and then you roll a d12. The d12 determines which shape the shrine is going to be in, and the 5d6 determines what's in each room. And you then piece together the dice as they are on a table and
Yeah,
create a right there.
that's super
That is
cool.
how that works. So obviously you can see in there as well, there's a little sketch of a shrine
Oh
after
yeah,
you've rolled the
it's
dice and how
slightly
the
cut
layout can
off on my
change
screen. There we go. Yeah, which
into
looks
a
like
shrine as well.
which site is that? I recognize this style.
Dungeon Scroll.
Dungeon Scroll. Yeah, thank
Dungeon
you.
Scroll. Yeah.
Which is great looking. Yeah.
And it creates that visual for you. So when you're mapping out your dungeon, you can just know, okay, this is what the room's going to look like. It encourages that idea of creating journaling, because that's what the solo games, right? That was the idea. My vision was you would sit down and you design a dungeon, then you'd sketch it in your little notebook and then continue on. And
Yeah.
that to me was really fun as a concept.
Yeah, this is
So
procedural
that's
dungeon
why
generation. It's really cool because it
it
means you
is.
can
Yeah. So
just show
shrines are
up.
always 5 rooms,
Yeah.
but dungeons are infinite. You can just end whenever you want. They're
Yeah.
procedurally generated to a grander degree than shrines, which is quite fun as well.
Yeah, that's super cool.
Yeah, and then obviously you get XP for exploring this too. Turn over a rock, you get XP in this game. So,
Right?
you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah, that's great. It means that you can allow these sort of tools allow the GM, the Herald, to not have a concrete plan going into a session and let the players go out there into the world and, oh, they want to go do a shrine today. All right, get out my dice and just roll it
yeah,
up. And,
that's interesting
yeah.
to me. And it also means that no 2 players, even if they're exploring the same world, will have the same 2 shrines.
Right, yeah.
And that is really fun, because I have always made a joke that the world is a multiverse and every single table is a part of that, and
Yeah.
different timelines, etc. And it's all fun. And I love the idea of, one of the things I plan on doing is the big campaign book is going to be similar to the Land of Eam one, where it's got the hex map, the
Right.
big hex map with different locations. And I want to
Mhm.
do that because there's so much stuff I think I could do with it. And I love the idea of there's a shrine, but the shrine is different for each group that enters it.
Yeah.
And then you have people discussing in your Discord, hey, I got to this shrine. What did you get? And
Yeah,
they go,
yeah.
oh, I got this thing. And they go, oh, that's so cool. I wish I got that in my game. Things like that are
Yeah,
so
that's
much
super
fun.
cool.
And I love that.
Yeah. Oh, I saw Jeff Whitty is in. Hey, Jeff. I don't know what time it is. It's probably tomorrow your time, I think, Jeff. But Jeff Whitty works in art on my game. Yeah, the layout is really
amazing.
pretty
Hello.
in this book, and this isn't even the final book, right? That I have here. What I have open is
Yeah,
like a beta.
I do the layout myself as well, because I find it much easier on my brain to lay out a book as I'm writing, because then I can visualize the like text budget that I have for a certain page,
Yeah.
and it allows me to write in things as I need to.
Mhm.
And yeah, I mean, it all comes together really nicely, where the vibes are very clear, and that's the thing I
Yeah.
want. I think I want people to open up a book, and this took me time to learn, don't get me wrong. Like, if you look
Yeah,
at
it's
this
not
book
easy.
compared to Bramble Trek,
Yeah.
the amount of things I've learned between them is insane. And you look at a game like Ashes, you look at a game like Comes to Midnight, they do not look like the original design, because I learned a lot about how to create a layout that tells a story, and the vibes that you get from the book immediately as you open it. Because all I want is, I want people to come to my stand and open up a book and go, "Ooh, that I know what the vibe is."
Yeah, yeah.
Straight off the bat.
100%.
They shouldn't have to ask me many questions.
Yeah, they shouldn't have to read a single word even, right? They should just be able to
Exactly.
see the page. Oh, Whispering
Yeah,
Wisp was asking, what program do you work in for your layouts?
I use Affinity 3 at the minute. It's free at the moment.
Yep.
I used Affinity 2 for a while, but then just upgraded because it had better tools. I use Affinity 3. I love it. I think it's so easy to use once you get the it's weird to say that. It's so easy to use once you understand it. It's
Yeah.
not that the learning curve is quite high, but the moment you start understanding the tools, it's really useful. I prefer it to Adobe InDesign because Adobe can go to hell with their subscription, but
Yeah.
I also found InDesign much harder to use. There was a much higher learning curve on that.
A lot of
So
Adobe
yeah.
products are cudgels. They're heavy and they're unwieldy at
Oh, the
times.
amount of RAM that they use, good
Yeah.
lord.
Yeah. I was so shocked when I had
Yeah.
open Affinity versus like Photoshop and just how much snappier Affinity was and less resource intensive. So, yeah, like for those watching this either live or later, if you are wondering what to work in uh, to do less, just start with Affinity because it's free. Like, don't invest in an expensive product. Affinity is quickly becoming like the standard in the indie space at this point. Also, because
An
Adobe is evil.
expensive product does not mean that your product will be better. I think that is
100%.
something that I learned very early on, that if you're starting a hobby, buying the best brushes will not make you the best artist. It's
100%.
all about the time you invest into learning and bettering yourself. Like I remember I had a friend who wanted to learn art. She
Hmm.
immediately bought an iPad Pro and the Pen Pro or whatever, and I'm thinking, you don't need that.
You don't need
It's
that.
it's great that you got it. If that is what you want to buy, absolutely go for it. But it's not going to immediately make you good. There is
Yep.
no tool to do that. You
Yeah,
know, just things take time.
they
They
do.
take time to learn.
And
Yeah, it's an interesting space to
with
be.
artistic things, so the guy that did this guy Pierce Martin, who did the music for my Kickstarter, he specifically used like dumpster dived instruments, like hand me downs,
Oh, lovely.
free, like garage sale stuff. So that they had so much more character and imperfections. He's like, you don't need fancy instruments to make
Hmm.
cool music, right? Same idea. Yeah, Affinity though is free and it's kind of becoming like best in quality too. Like it's great. You can pretty much do everything
Yeah,
they need to do.
it's an interesting. I'm gonna be curious to see how the development goes over the next couple of years because
Yeah.
all of their stuff with Canva, the whole
Hmm.
their business model doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah. Where's the money?
Genuinely, I
Yeah.
don't understand how they're going to survive with this. But then you never know. Maybe I'm not seeing something that they have in the background. So I will give them the credit where credit is due. They are doing a great job, and I love
Yeah.
Affinity so much. But I am scared that one day they'll just go, "Hey, this thing you've been using for years?
Yeah.
Now give us money to continue using it." And then it's like, yeah.
Yeah. It's always
The
a
barrier to
worry.
entry, though, for creators has been lower. It's never been
Yes.
lower than it is right now, and that I am
100%.
excited for.
You can use nothing but free software, free materials, fill them with free artwork, open license, Creative Commons artwork, and produce a product that looks great. The last I did another live video, a live stream just this weekend with another indie designer, and he paid $0 for all of his artwork. It's all just Creative Commons stuff that he then manipulated
Yeah,
slightly, or right? He's not an artist by trade; he's an architect, and just free, right? Affinity, Creative Commons stuff. Like this is a great time. A lot of artists also have really inexpensive stock art that you can buy, like packs.
yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah,
there's
for
so much.
sure.
If you're doing OSR, like game design, there's tons out there.
Oh God,
So much
you want
out
to
there.
make a
Yeah, Shadow
shadow
Dirt.
dark like supplement? My God, yeah, there's so much stuff out there you
Yeah,
can just buy right now, slap it into a book, and you're sorted.
yeah, and you're
Um,
you're off to the
yeah,
races. It's a great time, and there's a lot of artists. I mean, just because I know one of my artists is in the chat, there's a lot of really great artists out there too who are excited to work with indie developers and have very reasonable pricing structures and like know a lot about like games. They're not just an artist; they're somebody who plays these games and knows games, and that also helps, right? So there's tons of them out there.
yeah, absolutely.
I just sent
Yeah.
Jeff. I sent somebody your Instagram just earlier today who was asking about people who can do OSR style art. So hopefully he reaches out to you. Um, anyway, we are coming down to the last 5 minutes of our hour here. It flew by, unsurprisingly, but
Really good.
yeah. Just to cap remind everybody, we're talking today. This is about Legends of Akeroth. This is on BackerKit. These interviews that I do, they're not paid sponsorships, right? I consider these a way to show off indie designers and for all of us to learn from these indie designers, right? Ash has a lot I think we can learn from, and we're going to bring him back for running a TTRPG business, like going from hobby into you have your own salary and you have employees, right? Like regular people you're able to pay, right? That transition I think is really interesting. You have a huge community, right? Repeat consumers. There's a lot, I think. I know you share a lot of that in the big design server and the business chat. Like you help people with that. So we definitely want to have you back. Are you doing a series featuring specific genres? No, these videos are just from indie tabletop creators that reach out to me or that I talk to, trying to align with their crowdfunding so that we can just get more eyes on it and also learn from them, right? It helps the community and it helps get the word out about them. Generally speaking, I don't like taking money from indie designers for these sort of things because my community benefits from learning from them. And so
damn it, Peter. I can't believe you wouldn't let me just pay you.
I know, right? Because a lot of the people that I've talked to have like zero budget, I don't want to gatekeep any of that. So nobody has to pay for these. I just come over here on my lunch break and we talk. It's not that like a big ask of me either,
I think that's the thing, isn't it? At the end of the day, there was something that I learned a while back, which is when you give advice, 5% of people will listen to that advice.
Yeah.
5% of those people will then do it. And I figure that if we can get 5% of 5% to actually do more TTRPGs, the world is better for it. Creative, whatever. Yeah. It doesn't matter. You're making music, make more music. You're doing art, do more art. I want to encourage people to actually explore this, because if you had told me 5 years ago I would be making games for a living, I would have gone, no.
Yeah.
I'm going to continue working in marketing. I'm going to continue working in business development because that's a job.
Yeah.
I need to be in a job because that's what society says I should be. But I took the leap and I want other people to do it too. Mm-hmm. Yes, it's not always going to work out. I completely appreciate that. But if you don't try, when are you going to know?
Yeah. 100%. And like we were saying a few minutes ago, there has never been a lower barrier to entry to make a game right now. Like it's really great. And just as an example, just going to shout out because I see Anthony, DM Dungeon Mastery, is in chat. What was it, like 2 years ago, dude? We were like talking, I forget when this was, like a year and a half ago, and you were telling me, and I think it was August, about you had this game idea. You're like, I don't know if I can make a game, but you started telling me about your game. And I'm like, dude, make that game. And now he's got like a beta ready, like he's doing it, right? You can just do it. And if these chats can help motivate people listening, that's wonderful, right? Just make the game, join a community.
I want people to look at me and go, if he can do it, I can too. Because that's what it should be.
Exactly.
I don't want.
Yeah, you're not like an industry veteran or something. You're not like a guy who worked for TSR and has.
It's really sad. I only started playing TTRPGs like I think it's less than 5 years ago at this point.
Yeah. Like it. There's no.
I wish I had played longer, and I wish I had this huge like history.
Yeah, show me your nerd card.
Even in the space
with the punches.
Yeah,
right.
I've only been playing them for 5 years and designing them for 2.5. Like, I've not done this very long, but it is just. It was a risk that I was willing to take at the time, and I'm glad that I just did it, because people say, "Oh, just do it," but they're not wrong. You kind of can just do it. It might.
Yep.
If you do it and it doesn't work out, at least you still did it. That's the way that I see it.
100%.
Like if I'm not going to tell my son not to try and ride a bicycle. I'm going to tell him to just do it.
Yeah.
If he doesn't do it, we get back on the bike and keep trying to get until he gets used to it. It takes time. It takes determination and commitment. But one day it just gets there. And I think that if more people just gave it a go, and I'm willing to do that as well. I invest in other creators. Like I see Kickstarters all the time, and I see small ones, and I'll just give them money to make their thing. I'll help them hit their goal and make their thing realized, because that mental tick of I've now managed to do this thing will make them motivated to go do it again.
Yep, do it
You know?
again. Yep, and this
So
applies.
that to me is the goal of this.
Yeah, and it applies to artwork too. Like just Jeff Whitty in chat again. He said that's how I broke into RPG art. I just did it, and now like people are knocking down your door, buddy. I know you're getting lots of requests, right? To work on more RPGs now. You kind of are becoming notorious.
Yeah, absolutely.
In that space.
It is great though.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
It's a great space to be in. I know it's like a burning fire at this point whenever you look at the RPG news, but you stay within the area that you're able to, like the indie side. You know, it is really nice there. I have ADHD, so I jump from game to game all the time to try and design, and it works for me. But I know that it is hard for people, and I don't want. What I don't want is someone looking at me and thinking it's easy. It's not. It took a lot to get to where I am today, but I just. Yeah, it just takes time and effort, and I want people to understand that you can do it if you're willing to put that effort in.
Yep.
But if you're looking for profit, go elsewhere.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the money is not here.
Yeah. Don't look at like the amount of money that some tabletop role-playing game crowdfunding makes and think, oh, they're pocketing that as personal profit.
I wish.
Yeah, no. The margins are super tiny here. Oh, and just
they're so tight.
They're so
crazy tight. With tariffs as well. Out of here. It's not happening.
Absolutely. Oh, and Whispering Wisp said, I struggle with the idea of someone else can do it better. So you gotta.
Who cares?
Yeah, like my game will never. I'll never unseat Deadlands as like the Weird West that people think of. That doesn't mean I shouldn't make my Weird West game, right? I mean,
exactly. Like Pathfinder would be nothing without D&D. Yeah. And I guarantee you they thought at one point, we're making D&D but better. D&D don't care. They'll continue making their thing. The moment you stop comparing yourself to other people and wonder, are they going to do it better than me? You free yourself from about 90% of anxiety in the space. Because 100%. The point of it is, you're not competing with another creator. You're not trying to capture the attention, because let's be honest, I've got a shelf of 100, 400 odd games. Have I played all of them? Hell no. I've read them though. And I know so many other people who just buy RPGs to read them, but never get a chance to play because everyone is time poor at the moment. And people are willing to extend their like love and experience to other games because they want to learn from them. You know, I have Daggerheart up there. Am I ever going to play Daggerheart? No, I've played it a few times. It wasn't my game. That's fine. You know,
like
the moment you start saying,
I have this like, weird duet RPG that some indie friends made called Before the Boggot. I backed it on crowdfunding because I'm like, you know what? This weird duet game where you're bargaining with an eldritch god should exist.
It's interesting, isn't it? Yeah,
should exist.
Like, I think I've got a game somewhere that is, I don't even know what it's about. It's about a kobold stole my baby or something.
Oh yeah.
I bought it. Level 9 games. That was it. Yeah, I bought that, and I was just like, it's just interesting.
Yeah. So you're voting with your dollars.
Whispering Wisp, do it, go for it. Like if someone can do it better, so what? You still did it. You know.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, that's all that matters.
And when you're ready
to think about what you can do and what you can achieve and what you can control.
Exactly. And when you're ready to crowdfund, just talk to me because I know you're in my community. You're in a bunch of these communities. Yeah. Well, I'll interview you. Sure. Right. Just get out there, and the fact that people are interacting on a video like this and talking with creators, that's also great to do. I know I kind of talk about this a lot. Like talk to people and connect and be passionate, and you'll make friends, and they'll help keep you motivated, and so on and so forth. Or you'll just, I'll be talking about videos in the same Discord that Ash is in, and Ash is like, I'd love to hop on your channel, and I'll be like, done. It's as simple as that. Yeah, right?
It's just, it can be a very nice space if you're like, I get it though, because social anxiety, introvertedness, it's hard. It is hard. Don't get me wrong, and it's difficult to tell people I'm creating this thing, because you immediately put yourself up there to be judged. Yeah. But if your goal is, I just want to put it out there, one thing I did, which had helped me a lot, was I just turn off, like I don't look at the comments, I don't look at these things, and it helps you mentally separate yourself from it. I don't look at reviews for my games so I filter reviews in my email, because I get them all sent to my email and just filter by words of, I'd like improvement, stuff like that, because then I can look at it for notes, not whether or not they like the game. I just want to know what can I improve in the next edition of it. That's what I care about more than anything. That's the way to go. You're not looking at this as there are products and there are games. I think that there's a lot of stuff. We can talk about that during the business one, but there is
that's
a lot of
definitely
stuff that we can
there's a
cover with
lot
that.
of subs we may have. I mean, it could end up being a much longer stream if I don't do it during my lunch break. But there's a lot we can discuss about business. So to wrap up this video, just because I got to get back to my day job, this has been
So
Ash.
I need to go to sleep.
Yeah, it's a little late your time. So this has been Ash from Cross Paths and Legends of Akeroth on BackerKit. Link in the description. Definitely check it out. What we do here is we support indie RPGs, right? That's what we're kind of all about. And we will have him back on to talk more at a later date. And I'll review my calendar, Ash, and we will find another time.
Yes,
so thanks
we
everybody
definitely
who was in the chat and asking questions. And as always, check out the links. There's also a Cross Paths Discord server, which I believe you can find on the BackerKit page if you want to go connect with Ash's community. But Ash is also in the big design server. He's in my server. There's a lot of cross-pollination. All right, folks, have a good rest of your day, and I will see you here next time on Tales from Elsewhere.
Goodbye.